This is Megumi, and thank you for attending our special class today again. We're talking about udon today, and we get asked a lot of questions by our customers. What kind of noodle machine should we use, right, when it comes to udon, right? Well, there are many types of udon noodles that we have to talk about, in order to choose, which noodle machine will be appropriate for your needs. Like what kind of udon noodle you want to make, right? So that's what we're talking about today. And by watching this class, right, you'll be able to learn what actually udon noodles are, right? And what kind of what do you have to do to be able to make and serve great udon noodles, right? Delicious udon noodles. And later, Megumi is going to make actually udon noodles from scratch, right? And we're going to go to the kitchen later, where our instructor is going to show us how we can cook the udon noodles and serve the udon noodles. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm just going to go through this whiteboard, right? And to understand, for you guys to be able to understand what udon noodles are and what kind of udon noodles we're talking about, right? And so what are udon noodles, right? There are many types of udon noodles that exist in Japan and that are popular, right? And first of all, let me talk about ingredients, right? Ingredients. So udon noodles consists of it has to have wheat flour, but what kind of wheat flour do we use, right? And that's protein. Protein wise, protein actually controls the hardness of the udon noodle texture. And basically, the higher the protein content, right, the harder the noodle texture. And udon noodle is somewhere in the between, no, not too hard, not too soft. And that's between 7 and 9%. And ash content, right? Ash content is something that we have in the wheat flour, right? And that says how much minerals is contained in the wheat flour, right? I mean, that's in Japan, we have wheat flour that's less than 0.345%, right? And but that's what a milling technology in Japan does to the flour. So it tries to remove as much as ash as possible. And another value we look for when we are looking for good flour for udon noodles is that viscosity value, right? Viscosity is something that measures how elastic this noodle is going to be, right? So, and we use this kind of special device that's called Brabender machine, and the unit of measurement Brabender unit, right? And the higher the better, basically. So the higher the Brabender unit, the more elastic, more chewier the noodle is going to be, right? So that's wheat flour, and yeah, it's probably you have some wheat flour you may want to use for your udon noodles, right? But it's hard to measure, especially this value, right? These two can be shown on a label, so it's kind of easy to see them. But viscosity, something that's yeah, hard measure. So you can send us your flour sample, right? I mean, we can measure it for you, and that's free of charge, right? And water, right? Water, yeah, water is very important because udon noodles are usually high in water content, right? High hydration. And we are talking about 45 to 55% to the total solid ingredients, right? So that means that for 10 kilograms of solid ingredients, right, flat wheat flour, you're talking about adding 4.5 to 5.5 kilograms of water to it, right? And then another thing that we use a lot for udon noodles is salt, right? Salt. And salt is something that we add to the udon flour to tighten the gluten and kind of condition the flour like a dough into the kind of that kind of solid kind of firm texture, right? And so that's that. And then we are adding whopping 12% to 15% to the weight of water, and so that's literally kind of salinity level of the water. And so that's really salty, way salty than seawater. but that's the amount of salt we're adding to the water, and eventually like into the flour to make dough, right? And vinegar is something like we add, right, to get like sneakiness and make the noodles kind of light alkaline, which makes it like, well, the cooking water to be like light alkaline, and that's good for like udon noodle, like the noodle texture, and as well like it has like kind of preservative sort of like property to it as well. And the difference between like udon noodles and ramen noodles is that like there's no kansi, right? There's no kansi, which is like this combination of potassium carbonate, sodium carbonate added to the ingredients to the udon flour. So ramen noodles, has to have kansi, but like udon noodles, no kansi. And when talking about udon noodles, like so there are many types of udon noodles that exist in Japan, regional udon noodles, right? Uh, but one thing to distinguish them is that like in noodle size, right? Noodle size. So there are thin ones, there are thick ones, right? And we're talking about width here, like not the thickness, but like as thin as like 2 millimeter size, right? And then to probably like 6 millimeter, actually even like thicker ones, out there. But like let's stop at six, right? 6 millimeter, like it's pretty thick, right? So if you want to make like udon noodles like that are like over 3 millimeter, right? Over 3 millimeter. So that's the kind of threshold or that we want to have, right? Because the thicker, right? Thicker, and then it has to be softer, right? Otherwise, like it's like hard and thick, right? And then that's like hard to eat, right? Like that's hard to eat. So like the thicker it gets, the softer it has to get, right? So in terms of noodle texture, it should be softer. So like that means like softer means higher hydration, right? Um, so that kind of determines like what kind of noodle machine you need to use. And if it's thicker than 3 millimeter, then like you probably have to choose the kind of machine that we're going to use today to make udon noodles. But like if it's like less than like smaller than 3 millimeter, then you could make well delicious udon noodles using kind of machine like ramen machine, which has like a bigger roll size. And the typical Sanuki udon, right? Sanuki is like name of this prefecture and well the old name, but like it's kind of probably most popular, famous udon noodles in the world. But like so typical size be like thickness 3 millimeter and width 5 millimeter. So like it's pretty thick um, noodles, right? So so to make this kind of udon noodles, we are talking about like especially like the hydration part, like 45% to 55%, right? So that's the sort of ratio and ingredients that we need to have, like we want to use like to make this type of udon, right? So the production process to make this kind of noodle, right? Production process like actually involves 2 days, right? 2 whole days to make it and to serve it, right? To serve it. So day one, right? So just making dough, right? Day one just making dough, right? And um, so the first process, like very first process we have to do, and which is like most important process of all processes, is weighing, right? Weighing ingredients. I say like it's most important because if you make some mistakes, right? Like measuring some ingredients or like some ratios, right? And then the rest of the process doesn't matter, right? Right. And so I said like it's the most important process, and then like we measure everything by weight because it's more precise than like like measuring like volume or other units of measurement. But like so we weigh everything, right? And then to by grams and like kilograms, and like what we use like ratios percentages, right? So we have like kind of very precise like recipe, right? And it's like we use that to weigh everything, right? And then we go into the mixing process. And I say the mixing process is the second most important process of all. And the mixing process, so we use like certain type of mixer, right? And then like you just mix it for, again, like we are talking about this type of udon noodles, and mix it for like just 5 minutes. Um, Basically, the longer, well, like, the higher the hydration, right? Then, well, wetter the noodles, shorter the mixing times. Like we just mix it for 5 minutes, right? And then after that, right, we go into the resting process, like first resting process, and this is important to so the main part of like mixing is like basically a hydration, right? Hydrating like all the flours, the dough, right? Very well. But like it's not enough usually. So like we want to hydrate like more, like in a resting process. And then we want to degas the dough. Like there are a lot of like air pockets, which may burst like later, like when we're cooking the noodles. So we want to get rid of all these air pockets, right, as much as possible. And then we want to promote like wheat flavor, like by activating enzyme of the wheat. And then the what's important here is like temperature, right? Temperature and the time. And we let the dough set to like around like 28 degrees Celsius for 2 hours, right? And then after that, we do pressing. So the pressing process, so we just fold the dough and then like press it, right? Apply some pressure. It's kind of like working the muscle, the body, right? Like kind of building muscle, right? Means muscle tissues. It's kind of like that, and then pressing process, and then like, we people used to a lot of like udon shop like still do it, but like we used to like press yeah, like foot threading on the dough, right? But like it's time consuming, and like it's very labor intensive because like like foot threading like on dough like for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, right? Like you be sweating, right? And after that, right, we're going to like second resting process. So the second type, like we're gonna rest the dough, and after pressing process, like the dough is like very very tight. The like muscles like kind of building, but like it's very very tight, like very tired, like get stretched out. So we want to rest it, like literally rest it, right, at 18 degrees Celsius for 24 hours, like overnight, right? So that's like day one, kind of like making dough, right? And so second day we, come in, and then like we take the dough out from the resting, and then so we'll just start sheeting, right? Sheeting, like thinning the dough, and then just like we need to thin it like real gradually, right? And then like because otherwise we would be like destroying the gluten structure of dough, right? And when we like thin the dough like in a certain size, and there's a ideal thickness, right? Ideal thickness that we talked about, like for example, salinity udon noodles, and then the width, right? Width determined by cutting width, right? So we want to have like proper like thickness and width ratio of the noodle, right? To have like certain like ideal noodle texture. So noodle size is very important. When it comes like making udon noodles with like really good noodle texture. And cooking, like we'll show like how noodles cooked later, but like what's important, like the noodle cooker is very important, right? It has to have like strong heating power, right? And then you have like it has to have like kind of ample capacity of like that can hold up to like hold like water up to like at least like 10 times the amount of like noodles we are cooking at a time. And we need to use soft water. Soft water, like we talked a lot about soft water, but like you have to use soft water, like especially when cooking thick noodles like Sanuki udon noodles, because it takes long time, right? And then if you have like if you're using hot water to cook them, like it would make a big difference. Like if you use soft water. And so after that, right, you're gonna take the noodle out like from cooker, right, and then you're gonna cool them, wash them, right, and washing like why do we wash them, right? Like we there's gonna be like kind of slimy so like starch like on the noodle surface, like we wanna wash them off, right? Depending on what kind of noodle dish you're serving. And then after that, we're gonna move into the another thing, right? And then like we're gonna portion it, or like chill it, or like portion it. So we're gonna cook the noodles in batch and then portion later. That's how you do it, like for udon noodles. So we need some double sink. Um, it's really like really useful. And after that, like we serve it, right? We serve the noodle like as we get order. So that's how it goes, right? The process, the order process. And yeah, so the good news is that like I well kind of summarize all the elements like how what you would need to be able to like serve like, authentic great udon noodles, right? In terms of like ingredients, noodle making process methods, and equipment. What kind of equipment you need, right, to be able to like serve udon noodles. I put them like all in like in one ebook that's free of charge. So like if you guys are interested in like you can download it from our website. So please let me know if you're interested in. And so let's start making udon noodles. And Migmi is going to show us how fresh udon noodles are made from scratch. All right, so yeah, so as we discussed, right, the first process, like is a weighing, right? Weighing, so like so like make me weigh like everything by weight, right? So like wheat flour, and it has to be like protein content like 8.5% or something like that, right? And look at the amount of salt like we adding to the water, right? Like it's a lot of salt we adding to the water, so that's like 12 to like 15%. This is vinegar. It's very smelling. Yeah, I'm smelling vinegar right now, but like just 1% and water, right? Water. And so first we want to add flour, right, in the mixer. And so this mixer is 12.5 kilogram capacity, right? And but we are doing just minimum batch, right? Minimum batch of like 5 kilo and 5 kilograms. And so we're just gonna mix it, stir it, right? Stir it in there first, just with the solid ingredients. And as it's doing that, right, and it's like maybe it's melting, trying to dissolve like all the salt, right? Like it's a lot of salt, right? So like you can't really melt it like all at once, right? So like you kind of have to do this, right? Just add like a little bit of water and then like yeah, stir it and try to melt as much as you can, and then put it back in there, and then just the ones that are like melted, and then like yeah, and then add like some more water, and then try to melt as much as you can. So make sure that like salt is thoroughly, right, thoroughly dissolved, right, thoroughly dissolved, and adding the smelly vinegar, right, very strong smell. So uh, the liquid she just made, right, like it mixed all together, right, mix them all together. So this is like 2.5 kilograms, right? So that's like 50% hydration ratio. It's 50% to the weight of the flour. So that's 2.5, right? So like total weight of the dough is gonna be like 7.5, right? 7.5, and you know, and we hate to waste, you know, you guys' time, right? So like, we made prepared the dough in advance, right? So pretend that this dough, right, was mixed, and then after that, like, you know, it's it's rested already, right? It's rested for 2 hours at, well, 20 degrees Celsius, right? And so she's going to press it, right? Press it, like, remember, like old days, you know, we are stepping on it, right? To press it, like, you know, work it, right? But yeah, we're using this press machine, right? Yeah, so this press machine, what it does is like lifts that, right, press that, then, you know, it reaches the top, and then like, you know, applies, well, fairly big amount of pressure on the dough, kind of like evenly, right, on the all areas, and it just comes back down, right? And it's pretty powerful, like how much pressure like you can add, like on the flour, I mean the dough. It's pretty powerful. Yeah, but like it's flat, right? It's flat, so you know the pressure sort of like kind of dissipates like across like all the areas of the dough, and now for second time, like she's folding them, right? Folding it inwards, and then some more, right? So like, so she made like kind of like 4 layers of dough, right? 4 layers dough now, right? And then yeah, apply and then put it back in the press and see what happens, right? See how it's gonna come out. So yeah, so that's like 7.5 kilograms dough, right? So it's a bit. Once you add like liquid in there, like, you know, it, well, it grows into like, well, 7.5, like even though it was just 5 kilograms of flour, right? So yeah, high in hydration, like 45, like 50, and probably highest to be like 55%. Um, there's a lot of water in there. Okay, so the second time's done, right? And so she's folding it again, right? And again, like once again, like, you know, kind of making so like 4 layers of dough, right? And putting it back in the press. So you guys maybe like notice that like dough is kind of getting sort of um, tighter, kind of like, you know, like kind of tied up, like kind of um, yeah, kind of stretched out, like it's kind of like, yeah, kind of like muscle, like kind of like muscle, like getting tense, right? Tense, like, you know, after like you work out, like, you know, like lifting weights and like um, so it's kind of similar, right? It's getting kind of getting muscled out, like, but like you know, it's it's getting harder and yeah, tighter and kind of stretched out, like, right? It's kind of getting stretchy, and so it's getting harder to like um, fold as well, right? So this is it's the fourth time, right? It's the fourth time, so yeah, it's in Japanese, but like for the machines like that are like shipped out overseas, right? You know, everything is in English, and we can do that in Chinese as well. So it's coming down, and so I think it's gonna be like the last press, right? It's gonna be the last press, and but before that, right? right? She wants to like check on the dough in the mixer, right? And then we just want to finish the mixing process, right? And so that was like 4 minutes of mixing, and then you know she didn't add like all the water, right? She added the rest of the water and then like mix it for 1 more minute. Okay, so it's got that dough got like really hard, right? See, like she's kind of struggling to like kind of yeah fold it, right? But it's very stretched out, like it's, like kind of like muscle tissues are kind of like getting ripped and then um, getting fractured and yeah, it's getting ready for the second resting, right? So notice that like this machine is like doing like different things, right? At the simultaneously, same time, right? So like there's mixer, so moving, and like fresh machines also like operating, right? And then you can also do the same thing, like you can do the roll, like the roller, and then like you can do the cutting, right? So at the same time, so it's very yeah, it could get like really busy. This machine, right? And so we did like 5 times of pressing, and so now she's dividing it up, right, to like pieces, each of which like could be like I say like 2 kilo to like 3 kilo, right? Because later, because like next day, right? Yeah, like because we're gonna rest it overnight, right? So next day, like you'd have to work on it, right? You'd have to like actually start like spinning it, right? So you want to divide it into like pieces that are small enough for you to be able to like handle comfortably in the sheeting process. If you make it too big, right, and like the dough sheet is gonna be like too big and like it's gonna be like hard to handle like at a batch at a time, right? So yeah, so that's why like she divided up, right, pieces. So make sure that like you shield it and like just keep it from like drying, right? Just yeah, remove like as much air as possible like from the bag, right? And then put it back in the yeah, we have like this like resting cabinet, right? That you can control the temperature inside, like between like 5 and 35 degrees Celsius. And so we put it in that 18 degrees Celsius, right? So 18 degrees Celsius overnight, right? And then like so she prepared this dough, right? Like yesterday, right? Yesterday for today's event. Right. So that's the dough she made yesterday, and yeah. So what she's doing right now, like, is that like it's it's too big, right? Too thick for her to be like start like thinning them, right? So like she wants to kind of flatten them using the press unit. So yeah, put it on top of each other and then like yeah, press it and like just to flatten them, right? So that she can save time, like otherwise like she would have like push them like by hand, right? By hand, like with her weight, and that would be like that takes like a long time to do that. Yeah, and then yeah, we get asked a lot by a lot of customers, like, okay, so this is a machine that's designed to do like udon noodles, right? And then what else can we do, right? What else can we do with this machine? And Yeah, and then like also, from my own customers like using this machine, they ask like they're curious, right? Like, what else that they can use for this machine for. And then you can definitely make a lot of different types of noodles with this machine as well. Like for example, like pasta, right? Pasta, like certain types of pasta. And then, yeah, of course, yeah, like, certain types of ramen noodles as well. Ramen noodles, high hydration ramen noodles. Definitely, we can definitely do that with this machine. And so she started sheeting the noodle, sheeting dough, right? And then notice that like she's sort of has this like kind of shift gear kind of thing, right? Like on her left side, right? Kind of like yeah, kind of like shifting gear, like on the car, right? Like stick shift car. And then, but what she's doing now is like she's kind of narrowing the roll gap, right? One by one, little by little. It's like it kind of gradually thinning this dough, right? Like further and further. So getting thinner and thinner, like kind of gradually, because we want to retain the noodle texture, right? Like because if you like drastically thin it, like all at once, then like it's gonna destroy damage the gluten structure that we worked so hard, right, so far to build, right, through like from yesterday, right. So that would be a shame. So she's just gradually thinning, right, gradually thinning, and kind of retaining this um, very good noodle texture that's been developed inside dough. And notice like she's dusting it like really well, like dusting a lot of starch. Like this is actually this flour that she's dusting right now, like is exactly the same flour that she used to make this dough, right? Um, but she's dusting a lot, because it's high in hydration, like it's very wet. And notice this the numbers like in the display like kind of changing, right? Like as she like thin it, right? So this is the thickness, right? This is the thickness of the dough. This thickness of dough, like that's measuring like in the sensor. So, um, so remember, like we are aiming at yeah, so like 3 millimeter thickness for kind of sanuki udon, sort of like yeah, noodles, right? And so now it's showing like was it showing like 2.7 or something like, and then like 4.2 for one. And so basically the center of the dough sheet is like thicker than the outer rim of the dough. So you have to be careful. Like so now like she doubled the dough, like, right, in the dough sheet. And then like so yeah, 6.2 or something, like, so like divided by two, and then that's like, so one sheet that thickness would be like 3.1 millimeter. So that's kind of, yeah, good um, thickness, right, for sanuki udon, right? So that's how you sort of like measure the appropriate thickness in this machine. And so now we're gonna cut it, right? And then so make sure that like every part of that, all the areas of those, like even the well dusted, like otherwise they're gonna stick, right? So sending this dough into the cutter, and so she set the width, right, cut width, set the cut width, and so it's cutting, it's going towards the cutter, right? It's cutting now, and so the dough sheet is getting cut into noodle strands, right? So the noodles are being dropped off onto this like tray, like that's kind of moving like underneath the cutter, right? It's kind of like collecting collecting the noodle strands, like being cut and then like being dropped off, right, to the conveyor. And so we're like we have a batch of noodles, right, ready to be cooked, and so she's like dusting them again, right, to make sure that they're all well dusted, like to keep from sticking. And so like kind of straighten them up, right? So it's like each of the noodle strands is like, well, 3 by 5, like usually 3 by 5, like in this case. That's a good noodle size for this type of udon noodles. Okay, so let's go to our kitchen where instructor is waiting for us to show us something incredible. Okay, so this is our kitchen, and like this is Miss Sano, our instructor for our udon noodle school, and so she's gonna show us like how to cook the udon noodles properly, and explain like how the cooker works, and like she's gonna show us like kind of udon dish that's popular in Japan, and yeah, so thank you, Miss Sano. よろしくお願いします。まず今さっき作ってもらったうどんを茹でます。Right, so first off, like I'm gonna just kind of cook the udon like noodles like fresh made just now, right? はい。こちら茹で釜です。So this is a noodle cooker that we use at our school. で、麺を茹でるときはちょっと沸騰した状態の中に入れます。Right, so like when you cooking noodles, right, like make sure that you have like this water, right, that's boiling, like boiling, like kind of strong boil. Then like throwing in these noodles in there, right? And when like it's like sort of boiling again, like then turn down the heat a little bit, right? And so she's storing the noodles right in there, like, and then kind of storing in there to like kind of kind of getting the noodles like loosened up, right? And then yeah, kind of coming them through, sort of, and kind of straightening them up, right? And then the noodles are kind of like coming up to the surface, and yeah. So like notice like she's like sort of like kind of drawing like number 8 or like omega sign, right, with that udon stick. Right, so like we're loosening the noodles right in there, and then yeah, disentangling the noodles at the same time, right? Right, so like I'm making the what we call a bukkake dish, right? That's the kind of dish that like we have like in Sanuki, like Kagawa, or like that's kind of like you have noodles, and then like you have like kind of special sauce and a kind of topping on them. Then you just pour the special sauce over it, and then like kind of stir everything and then eat it, right? The kind of dish I'm making today. 麺の太さやあと下によって茹でる時間が変わるのでちょっと調整してあげてください。 Right, so like depending on the noodle thickness, like or noodle size, the cooking time may be like different, right? So like you may want to adjust it by actually checking the how it's coming up, right? Checking noodles, yeah, like around like probably 2 minutes or like 1 minute, like before the time's up, right? Like you want to check the noodle texture, see if like if it's cooking or not. ですね、3、4分このままで茹でます。その後、こういうタモに取ってひとまとまりにしておきます。Yeah, so like for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, right? Like we're just gonna cook the noodles like in this condition, right? And then after that, like we're gonna catch them like in this net, right? And then like just set them aside. で、ちょっと再沸騰もしてきたので、ポコポコす
するぐらいに火力を落とします。
Right. So I'm just gonna just turn on the heat a little bit because like so it boiling again, kind of yeah, pretty strongly.
で、茹でるときは差し湯をしてます。
And when we're cooking, right, like I make sure that like we have this water going to the little cooker, right?
で、小麦粉で作ってるので、茹でるとお湯が濁ってくるので、新しいお湯を差しながら吹きこぼしながら作っていきます。
Right. So like cooking water, like gets dirty and dirty with like all the stuff like that are coming out, like noodles, like the wheat flour and like salt and everything, right? We want to have like this kind of noodle cooking system where like we have like overflow, right? Overflow edge, like ditch, and so we can drain the water like that's overflowing, right? And then we want to have like the tap, right? That can supply like clean water. So we want to have a system like so we can kind of like keep the cooking water like relatively clean throughout the cooking.
で、どちらも軟水を使ってます。
And I kind of talked about like the both the tap and then like the cooker, right? Like we use like soft water.
で、大体今3、4分経ちましたので、2もに取っていきますね。
Okay, so like 3-4 minutes past, like I'm just gonna catch them in a net.
で、これをお湯の中に入れて麺を取ります。
Right, so I'm catching them like the noodles in the net, right? Like so I'm just gonna hold them, right? Hold all the noodles in the net, right?
トマト割りにしておきます。
Right, so that like we are I'm freeing up like the other space, right? For another batch of noodles that to be cooked right in another space, right? So that they can be like mixed up, right?
ですね、今日はこんな感じのぶっかけうどんを作ります。
So this kind of bukkake udon, like I just kind of drew like so that's the finished yeah
で、
picture, yeah.
うどんがあって、天ぷらの盛り合わせを入れます。
Yeah, so there's udon, right? And then like I'm just gonna do like a variety of like tempura as topping.
で、卵の天ぷらもあるんですけど、半熟卵で衣をつけたような揚げ方をしてます。
Yeah, so we have like egg, right? We have egg tempura, right? Tamago tempura, and especially like this one, like I'm gonna do today, it's gonna have like kind of um, so like the outer cover with the certain ingredients. I'm gonna explain later.
で、この半熟卵の殻を剥く機械っていうのも作っていまして、こちらですね。
So we actually developed this machine like egg peeling machine. Yeah, because a lot of people like have like hard time like and they spend a lot of time like peeling eggs, boiled eggs, right? So we developed this machine, golden egg machine, and so it kind of moves like the chicken is like laying eggs, kind of so it dispenses the like peeled eggs, right, automatically. So we use this machine to like peel eggs, like we're gonna use today's topping, right, and then like in the tamago tempura. And so we have like this pot, right? And then like basket to kind of cook the cook the eggs like kind of efficiently. So we place the egg right like in the like four baskets and then cook them. And then once with the cook right, and then like we take them out and then like put them in another pot that has like cold water, right? So like we cool them, right? Just like this, right? And then we just gonna start placing the eggs right in the machine, and then just peel them, and then like dispense the peeled eggs. So yeah, and so the kind of special pot, like to sort of bring the water to the boiling point, like as fast as you can, and then yeah, and it also has like this kind of like attachment, like the it holds up like 40 eggs at a time. So yeah, we've been like working on this like for quite a while, but like it's a excellent way to yeah, do your boiled eggs, like in half, um, yeah, soft boiled eggs, right? Soft boiled eggs, they're hard to peel and break. I mean, easy to break. Okay, but let's start with, okay. ah, sorry, yeah, so golden eggs has been like, well, more than actually 100 units of golden eggs being shipped out like to overseas, and then especially like ramen, existing ramen shops, right? Have like hard time, like they spend actually some of the ramen shops like spend like 3 people. I mean, they use 3 people, and spend like maybe 3 hours just peeling eggs, right? Peeling boiling eggs, right? And then the other day we had a customer like who bought this machine in Taiwan. Then they actually peel 1,000 eggs, right, per day, right? Like they have like boil them, like, and then peel them, right? 1,000 of them, right? And then they just use this machine, right? And they peel 1,000 eggs, right? Very like really short period of time, compared to like how long they have to spend to do the same job. So it reduces the your labor time, and then like you reduce the amount like number of eggs that you would otherwise like damage like during peeling, like if you're peeling by hand, right? So yeah, it's a fantastic machine, and it uses the water like to supply to the machine to sort of like remove the shells, right? Eggshells that are like peeled out, and then it has to like the water like hits the egg, right? And then it kind of helps remove um, the the eggshells as well. So yeah, designed it's been designed like and then like sold for like almost a year. But like it's been like pretty popular, and they're doing very very well. So if you guys are interested in like just let us know. Contact our just send us the your inquiry like from contact form, and that'd be great. Okay. Yeah. So the Okay, so like cooking, right? Noodle cooker is very important, and then we all talked about like water softener is very important too, right? So water softener and the noodle cooker, right? And then we talk about like double sink, right? Double sink is very important, like because of the two processes or like 3 processes that like we're gonna do later, like after cooking, right? So it's kind of like flow, right? Like so you have a cooker, you have a double sink, you have the yeah place where like hold the noodles, like pinch noodles, like portion the noodles. So this is the flow, right? Like we recommend, right, for efficient operation of udon noodles. Yeah, and then like noodle cooker has like really strong powered, really high powered, so that like when you put the noodles in, right, like you can get back up to like the temperature of the cooking temperature. Okay.
30秒前になったので、ちょっと硬さ見てみますね。
Okay, so 30 seconds to the finish. So like I'm just gonna check the noodle texture.
食べてみて、噛んでみて硬さの確認します。
So you just bite it to check the hardness, like if it's done or not.
はい、OK です。引き上げます。
All right, so it's done. So like I'm just gonna take it out, right?
では、お湯を切ってもらって、1つ目のシンクに移します。
Right. Make sure that like you strain the water, hot water, cooking water as much as you can, right? And then place the noodles in the first sink, right? First sink.
ここではお水を流しながらしっかり揉んで洗います。
Right. So like in the first sink, right? What you do is that like you want to, you are cooling them, right? You are cooling them at the same time like you are washing them. You want to wash as much of the starch off the noodles as you can, right? So you kind of like cooling them, and then at the same time like washing the starch off the noodles. So it doesn't hard to because like the udon noodles are like pretty thick, right, and strong. So you can put some like yeah, power to them, like when you're washing them. Yeah, so like you have like really want to wash them well, right?
ぬめりが取れたら2つ目のシンクに移動します。
Okay, once start you remove I'm gonna move it to the second sink, right?
こち
Where
らは冷たいお水が入ってます。
so there's a cold water in there.
麺を引き締めます。
There's cold water in it. Like so, what I'm doing is that like I'm tightening the noodle texture, like by kind of making them cold. I'm kind of like hardening the noodle texture.
で、じゃあ、一人前を盛り付けていきます。
And so I'm just gonna portion it, right? Portion it. So notice like I kind of like comb through the noodles, right? Kind of tongued up noodles, and then kind of make them straight.
で、天ぷらを盛り付けます。こちらですね。
Okay, so I'm gonna plate the tempura.
天ぷらがたくさん揚げてもらいました。
Yeah, I want to deep fry a lot of tempura, like different types.
で、こちらの卵。
So that's the egg, right? That's tamago. I talked about, right?
ゴールデンエッグで剥いた卵にコーンフレークをつけて揚げました。
So this is a boiled egg that's peeled by golden egg, and then so we deep fry them like with the flakes, right? It's like corn flakes covering the egg.
で、そちらが切ったものですね。
So it's got like really kind of crunchy texture outside and like kind of creamy, so like soft yolk inside.
舞茸ですね。舞茸の天ぷらが。
So it's a kind of mushroom that like a lot of like that like really got popular like over the past like 10 years or so in Japan, and like then sweet potato, the eggplant. So notice like how the eggplant and like sweet potato is cut, right? And then this is a shiso leaves, right? So leaves like some green there and some red like
で、最後にさっきのゆで卵を
tomato, right? And I'm placing the egg, right?
まあ、ぶっかけうどんなので大根おろしもつけます。
So this is a bukake udon, right? Like so the kind of udon dish that's very popular in Japan, and kind of dish that it's very easy to make it as a takeout, actually, takeaway. It's like udon bento kind of thing, right? Because um, so the daikon radish like kind of ground like that radish, and then like a ginger on top of it, right? And then lemon, just lemon in there, right? And then chop the scallions,
ですね、ネギものせます。
or chop the scallions, right? Just kind of sprinkle them,
と、鰹節ものせます。
and then so that's the bonito flakes, right? Kind of sprinkle them over brown, right?
で、だしをそこから注ぎます。
So this is a sauce that like kind of like pour it over, yeah, pour it in there, right? And then so when you eat it, like you just kind of stir it well with the noodles, right? Or like everything else, and then eat it, right? So
では完成です。
so this is done. Like so, this is the bukake udon dish. That's pretty great for takeaway item as well. So you can put a bento box in there, right? And then put everything in there, and yeah, that's this noodle texture like lasts for quite a while too. So like you can use it as takeaway product too. So
では実際に食べてみてもらいます。
okay, so somebody is gonna eat it, right? Try it. Try it, right? Okay, so we have Miss Van, right? Miss Van, like from yeah, as a she's our instructor as well. Like so she's gonna try it, right? And then give us some comments, right? So just gonna squeeze the lemon first, right? Squeeze the lemon fast first, and then yeah, kind of sprinkle the zest of lemon, like all over the place, right? And yeah, basically kind of use kind of stir up everything, right? Make sure that like the noodle gets enough sauce, right? And basically stir everything up, right? And then yeah, and it's cold noodles, so like it has like really strong noodle texture, right? And in Japan, like you have to slurp, right? Like you have to make noise, right? Like it's very rude, I think, like in some cultures, but like it's if you're not slurping, right? It's like some people actually look down on you, like the udon shop, especially old people, but um, yeah. So then yeah, do some get some bite of like yeah tempura, and then like go back to noodles, and then like go between like go back and forth between like noodles, and then like tempura, and then like yeah. So that's how you sort of like enjoy the bukake udon dish. And yeah, it's great for takeaway. It's great for like lunch. It's great for like even like for dinner as well. So um, yeah. All right, great. It's been like thank you so much. That's beautiful. I was expecting you to make some noise, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, no comment, but like the fact that like she's eating, she keeps eating, like is that like it's delicious. So all right, all right, guys. So yeah, yeah. So we did the udon, right? We did udon, and then like it's a very traditional way that we did it, like, and then so authentic udon. It has to be like kind of like certain size, right? And then it has to like have like certain unique like noodle texture. Then because we are from like Kagawa, right? And Kagawa, like where it's like probably the home of like most popular famous like udon, Sanuki udon, right? So we did that like today, and like so this is our expertise. But like we also have like ramen and noodles, and then like other stuff like we can share. Um, so if you have like anything in particular that you want to do, you want us to do, right? And then like just please feel free to like send us in the comments.